These are top 10 creepiest murder stories ever told on Joe Rogan.
Episode number 1931, Mike Glover recounts the Ruby Ridge Standoff, where a Vietnam vet's family was killed in a tragic FBI raid.
Green Beret from Vietnam shacks up in rural Idaho, and he decides that he wants to have a life off-grid. And the FBI, doing an investigation with the ATF, finds out that he has some kind of gun issue. And they need to do an investigation, and they need to go on site. But this is almost, it's crazy because there's similarities with our situation. You find out the guy's background. Like if you're developing a target packet on a bad guy, you would want to know the guy's background, right? That's the first thing you do because you want to assess potential risk to force, and you want to mitigate risk overall. What's his background? Green Beret, Vietnam. Oh, fuck, right? Then everybody gets all fucking crazy, right? They start going, oh, we need to find out more. So they do surveillance. They don't just do off-site surveillance. They don't do long-range surveillance. They get in ghillie suits and low crawl to his fucking cabin, right? In ghillie suits. His son and his dog are out on the property because it's his fucking property, and they discover these guys in ghillie suits. The son raises his rifle, shoots and kills one of the FBI guys, and the FBI guys kill his son. So what would you do if you own property in rural anywhere in America, you hear gunshots, and your fucking son's dead, and you don't know what's going on? And it's a bunch of dudes in ghillie suits. So he winds up locking himself and barricading himself in the cabin, and then they deploy the FBI Hostage Rescue Team, HRT. I actually interviewed one of the guys that was he was in the sniper site as a sniper for FBI HRT when this went down. So, long story short, they kill his wife as well. Shoot his wife.
While she was holding a baby.
They think, talking to one of the snipers, they thought that he was charging them into their position, but he was fake charging. He was making like a gesture like he was charging. So they got panicky, and they started breaking shots off at him. I don't know if they wounded him, maybe wounded him, but he gets back inside, and so they dump the next person they saw, which happened to be the wife. So they end up barricading the place even more, and his ex-commander is the one that basically does a call out and gets him to negotiate, and then eventually gets him to surrender. So all this is said and done, the FBI is found in the wrong. They sue the FBI, they win. It's a insanely controversial topic, but if you look at the FBI, two of the successes, I mean, there was guys who got awards from the FBI on that fucking mission.
Even though it was proven that they were in the wrong.
Yeah, even though it's proven they were in the wrong. Like Waco is a good example of it as well. But this is what I'm talking about. Like there's a breakdown between organizations in the government and their powers that be, and likely a cascade.
Episode 1459, Tex Watson's secret tapes may reveal the real motive behind the Manson murders, but LAPD keeps them sealed.
To the end of the book, there's a murder in there that I think the Manson family committed that was covered up by the law enforcement because it would have screwed up the prosecution. I want that looked into. There's also at the end of the book, there are these Tex Watson audio tapes that I found out about in 2008 when Watson turned himself in when he was alerted in Texas. He was at his parents' house. The police called the local sheriff, who was Tex's cousin, and his parents, and said he's wanted for questioning in these unsolved tape murders. And this was November 29th. Nobody had been identified publicly as suspects. The police were just starting to figure out that these people had killed their victims. So two LAPD flew down to Texas. Watson was brought into the station, questioned by the LAPD, put under arrest. They had to extradite him, so the sheriff there, Texas cousin, put him in a cell. The family called up a lawyer, Bill Boyd, who had actually represented Tex on a college case when he stole a typewriter from a college in a prank. Bill Boyd told me in an interview in 2008 that day he had Tex tell him the whole story, or Charles as he called him, about how he met Manson, why the murders were committed, how they happened. He said he spoke to me for 20 hours. And he goes, I've got all those audio tapes in a safe in my office. He told me this in 2008. He said he also described other murders that the family had committed that hadn't been connected to them. So right away, when, I'm in 2008, I'm working on it that long, I thought, other murders, that's important to me. But more important, did he tell his attorney why the murders really happened? Why they picked those houses? This was the first account that was recorded. The next one was Susan Atkins about a week later, after she had gotten her new attorney that the prosecution planted. They audio taped her telling her version, which became the official version. So Watson's would predate that by a week. And when I found out that they were in that safe, and he's telling me this on the phone, I thought, wait, he can't play that to me because that would violate Watson's attorney-client privilege. But I thought, I have to ask. So I said, is there any chance, Mr. Boyd, I could come down and listen to those tapes? And he said, that's when he realized he shouldn't have told me. He said, oh, well, I couldn't do that without Charles' permission. I go, are you still in touch with me? He goes, I write to him every now and then. He writes me. He didn't represent him at trial after he was extradited. And I said, would you please ask? So that began 3 or 4 months of me pestering him. He would never take the phone call. And then finally, after 4 months, I called up and his secretary said, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd's in China on business today. And I said, well, you have to tell him I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm going to write to Charles and tell him what he told me. I go, if there's other bodies out, I didn't let them know that I was more interested in the motive story. But I said, and I was interested in this too. I go, if there's other bodies or victims out there who have never been connected, or even, we don't even know if the remains were uncovered because there's a lot of evidence that there might have been people killed out in the desert and buried there. I go, I need to know that. And she said, okay, I'll tell him. My phone rang like literally 30 seconds after I hung it up. And I had caller ID, and it was from his Texas office. He goes, this is Bill Boyd. You cannot call Charles and tell him I told you that. I said, Mr. Boyd, you haven't called me back for 4 months. He goes, well, I'm telling you now, you can't do that. I go, well, are you going to, get his permission? He goes, yeah, you just have to be patient. I go, I can't wait anymore. He says, if you do that and you tell him, I'll deny ever telling you. And I said, it's all on tape. I taped that call. He goes, you didn't have permission to tape that call. I go, yeah, you gave me permission at the beginning and that's on tape too. He goes, God damn it, you journalists. And he hung up on me.
You journalists.
Yeah.
He lumped you in with all of them.
He said, his wife is a TV anchor. He goes, my wife's I know how you people work. I go, you gave me permission. It's on the audio tape.
Wow.
So he died 6 months later on the treadmill.
Oh, my God. Probably thinking about you.
And his firm went bankrupt. And then it wasn't until 2 or 3 years later, and it's all in there, the backstory, but I finally went to try to get the tapes again and found out he had died, found out that the tapes were in the possession of the trustee who was, waiting for the bankruptcy to be resolved. And it took me 3 or 4 months of back and forth and to try to get them to release the tapes to me. And I made an argument for why they weren't protected anymore. Again, long story short, I was sharing information with the deputy DA in Los Angeles who I thought was friendly. He was, until he wasn't. And he was handling all the parole hearings of the Manson family, a guy named Pat Sakura. The woman who was in charge of the tapes, the trustee, said, if Sakura calls me and tells me that it's okay for me to release them to you and explains how it's not a violation, I'll do it. I said, I'll ask him. So I asked him. He said, absolutely, I want to talk to her. And I said, great. A day later, I get a call from Sakura. He goes, you're not going to believe it. She's releasing the tapes to us. I go, you? He goes, yeah. Don't worry. I'll let you hear them when we get them. She asked, I knew right then I had lost any kind of control. And sure enough, number one, the trustee had to notify Watson's new attorney. Watson put up a fight in court, and you can read about it in the LA Times. I reported on that for about a year. For about a year, it went from the local court to the state Supreme Court, where the judge finally ruled that the LAPD should have the tapes. They sent 2 officers down to get the tapes in 2013. They came back, and then nobody at the DA's office would talk to me anymore. The promise that had been made that I would be the first one to listen to them reneged. Those tapes, 1 million journalists have made Freedom of Information Act requests for them. They won't release them. They're locked up. Leslie Van Houten's attorney wants them. He thinks it'll help her at her parole hearings because he thinks there's information on there to show that she's been telling the truth all these years. He's gone to the state Supreme Court through other courts. They've locked them down. It's 20 hours, first account of how and why these murders occurred, and they're not releasing them. I think it's because the truth is on there.
Episode number 2360. Joe Rogan and Caroline Fraser discuss lead pollution in the Pacific Northwest and its link to serial killers like Ted.
Number 1726. Chuck Palahniuk recalls his father's 1999 murder, a tragedy that eerily echoed his family's dark past.
But has there been anything in your life that was so horrific that they couldn't imagine telling you?
You know, except for my father's murder, not really.
Maybe that was it?
Maybe that was it, but boy, that doesn't seem like it's big enough. I don't know.
How was your father murdered?
Dad was murdered in May of 1999. He had answered a personals ad for a woman who was looking for a boyfriend, and the ad was headlined Kismet. I believe that's the Arab word for fate. And Dad met with her. Her name was Rita. She was a lawyer. She had worked in the prison system in the Midwest. And Dad was really, really taken with her. She was really bright and really smart. And she had an ex-husband who had sexually abused her daughter from a different marriage. And they were pressing charges against his ex-husband, and he was going to go to prison. And she had met him while he was in prison, and she was doing legal work. And she had helped him get out of prison. So she helped him get out of prison. She'd married him. He had abused her daughter. She divorced him. She was prosecuting him to send him back to prison. Then she met my father. And this ex-husband had said that if he ever caught her with another man, he would kill them both. So my father was going to pick her up, and she was going to stay at his house in the mountains until the time of the trial. And as he was going to pick her up, he was going down this mountain road on his property, and a giant boulder broke free, and it rolled down the hillside, and it blocked the road. He couldn't get out. So he spent the day with this a lever, forcing this boulder off the road. And then he took a couple extra hours and he made a sign that said Kismmet Rock so that he could label this boulder as a kind of landmark for when he brought her back to sequester her. And he'd cleaned the house incredibly. The house was just neat as a pin and stocked with all this food. And, you know, he really planned to have this fantastically sort of idyllic time sequestered with his new girlfriend. And he labeled the rock to surprise her. And then he went to pick her up. And when he went to pick her up, the ex-husband showed up. And he shot my father. And my father and the woman took refuge in her house. And the man set fire to the house. And the house eventually collapsed. And the coroner says that they were both dead before the fire got to them. And the coroner says that because of the angle of the shot, my father probably took about 20 minutes to die because the bullet ruptured his diaphragm. So with every breath, he would have been accumulating air between the lung and the diaphragm. And so every breath would have been more and more shallow because his lungs would have been more and more constricted by this air above the diaphragm. But that eventually he'd suffocated. And all of this sounds horrible and tragic, but it forms this fantastic pattern in my father's life because my father, when he was very small, he lived in northern Idaho with this enormous Ukrainian family. And his father went crazy one day. This is all public record. I've talked about this a lot. But his father took a rifle and walked around the house and tried to kill him, my father, and ultimately killed killed his wife, my father's mother, and then killed himself. But my father's earliest memories are of hiding underneath a bed as his father walked around the house in logging boots with a rifle, calling his name, trying to get him to come out so that he could be killed.
Jesus Christ.
And so my father spent his entire life sort of looking for his mother, because as his father was trying to kill him, he was trying to find his mother, who at that point had been killed. And so my father really had this kind of serial pattern with women. He was always looking, in a way, for the woman. And ultimately, he was shot by the man with a gun in the way that he would have been shot when he was 4 years old. And one of the uncanny things is that their bodies were only preserved because a bed on the second floor of this structure, as it was burning, the bed fell over their bodies and insulated their bodies. And my father had escaped his father by hiding underneath a bed when he was a small child. And the fact that the Lonely Hearts ad was headlined Kismet, and the fact that this boulder rolled down in front of my father's car just as he was leaving,
that prevented him from getting there in time, where he probably would have been able to escape before the ex-boyfriend arrived.
Or was, I don't know, there's so many odd, bizarre coincidences and synchronicities. You know, you would have to really dismiss a lot of things in order to make this not something significant.
Not fate, or not some reoccurring theme woven into time.
And in a way that, understanding all these different aspects of it, it provides a comfort that it doesn't seem like this random thing. It seems like something that some aspect of my father's life that was coming full circle and was finally being completed. And maybe I am clutching at straws and I'm just a kind of person looking for significance, which is what we all are. But I'll take comfort where I can find it.
Episode number 1627. Dan Gable recalls his sister's 1964 murder and regrets not speaking up about the warning signs.
High school started then. And anyway, long story short, this neighbor kid ended up murdering my sister. And he had walked to school with me a couple weeks before that and said something to me who if I would have communicated, it might have saved her life, just because she probably would have never let the guy into her house.
What did he say?
He just said, like, boy, you got a hot sister, and he was kind of my age, 1 year older than me, but my sister was 4 years older than me, so he was probably 16 and she was 19. And she had a boyfriend, and she was living at home yet. And so the funny thing is I actually was going to come home and say something to her, but when I got home, I got distracted, and I said, it's just boy talk, it's just boy talk. And it was mostly about he just thought my sister was really hot and that he would like to do something with her, but he never really said it outright. I mean, I just figured something, the boys would like to do, but anyway, so, that 2 weeks later, we're on a fishing trip with my mom and dad, and my sister's supposed to join us, and she doesn't show up because she worked for my dad after she went to college for a year, and then she worked for my dad after that as a secretary in the real estate business. So she didn't show up, so we called the neighbor, and back in those days, you didn't have cell phones, so we had a phone that was outside a cabin that we rented, and I can date you because the cabin we rented for $4 a night. So it's just unheard of, and that was, it would have been 1964. So we were at a payphone about a half a block from the cabin that we were renting, and we roll the window down and you put the dime or nickel in the phone and you call. And my dad called the
I was in the back seat. My mom and dad were in the front. My dad was driving, and he called the neighbor and he asked if my sister's car was still in the driveway, and he said yes. So, and she was supposed to be with us 90 miles away that morning, and she didn't show up. So my dad and my mom get really nervous, and they tell them to go break into that house. If you can't, if there's nobody, you can't get in, break into it, or if she doesn't answer the door, get into that house and call us back. So you can see the tension in the front seat of the car. I can see my mom and dad worried, and the phone rings finally at about 15 minutes later, and all of a sudden, my dad drops the phone, and my mom was going. She was kind of starting to go hysterical, and wanted to know what was wrong, and he looked over. I'll never forget this. Being a 15-year-old kid, and my dad said to her, "Diane's not alive." And oh my God, it's just, my mom opened the door of the car. She took off running back to the block to the cabin. I got out and ran after her, and when I followed her into the cabin, by that time she was already on the floor, and she had grabbed her hair, and she was pulling her head, hitting the wooden floor, and she looked up and she had blood all over her forehead. And so my dad then followed in, and we packed up real quick. In like 10 minutes we left half the stuff there, and we took off for my hometown 90 miles away. But within 15 minutes, within a half hour of that phone call, I was in the back seat, and there was a lot of trauma going on in that front seat. And I said to my dad, "Dad, I may know something about this. I don't know for sure, but I may." And he overreacted. He slammed the brakes on the car, got out of the car, came around, opened the door, pulled me out, slammed me against the door. "What do you mean you may know something about it?" And then I told him the story about the 2 weeks before, that me walking to school with a neighbor kid, and that what he had said. And he just hugged me and threw me back in the car, and we stopped at the next town, which is about 15 miles later, and went into the police station. And we told the police what had happened as far as sister, daughter getting murdered the night before, and we were on our way there, but my kid told me a story that I think if you could help me as soon as possible. So they called ahead to the Waterloo Police Department. The Waterloo Police located, he was at work sacking groceries the next day in a grocery store. And so he'd actually admitted right there that he did it, after they got him. But the thing is, what's amazing is this guy, then he escaped from prison after about 20, he was only 16. He got life in penitentiary, and he escaped, and that pretty much doomed him to ever getting out. And then, because he was out for a month before they caught him, and he actually, in the trial, he was so mad about getting sentenced to life in prison that he pointed to the Gable family, and on the way out, and he said he was going to kill us all. And so anyway, this guy goes to prison, and he lives, and he dies in prison. After he broke out, he never really got a chance to ever let him out. But here's the thing. So it's just about, I don't know, say it's 7-8 years ago when he passed away. But we got another cabin now. It's about 30 miles north of the cabin we were in that time, and that was a rental cabin that's torn down now. And we go right by that place. So we're going right by that place. Actually, me and my wife had been at our cabin that my mom and dad owned, and I inherited when they passed on. But we were at that cabin, and we were coming home, and we were going right by the spot where that payphone was, and where we had learned about her death. And there's a cell phone call. It's the warden of the prison he's in. I think it was Indiana. He was in Indiana, the prison. And the warden told me that the guy that murdered your sister just died. The exact same spot where I learned of the murder I was driving by, and it's about 115 miles from, well, it's actually a lot further than that. So it's like spooky. It's like real spooky. And then what's really amazing is what he said to me, the warden. He said before he died, he was seeing a counselor, and the counselor told me this, that he said, you know, he repented. He said, I really shouldn't have. I feel bad about killing Dan Gable. I mean, this is years later. But that he had told, and he had been rehabbed somewhat. And he goes, and the reason why, he said, I knew I was going to kill somebody, but he said, because she was such a nice girl. You know, oh my God.
He said he knew he was going to kill somebody?
He said he knew he was going to kill somebody.
It was just who he was.
Yeah. And they told me that. And you know, I cried for an hour. And it got a lot out of me. But, you know, as bad as my dad felt, my mom felt, and, you know, I felt probably, I kind of got rid of a lot of hatred when he told me that he admitted that she was such a nice girl that he shouldn't have done it. And it was, you know, probably not too for he probably did it on his deathbed or something, but he probably had all this guilt. But you know, it helped me too. And it helped me because even though I cried for an hour, and I think the stuff you build up inside you sometimes, you don't know what it's going to take to get it out of you. And I think that really helped me with my situation, because you always feel a little guilty because of maybe you could have saved her life. But more than that, it's been something that I based my whole life on too. Just communication. I mean, this is your business, communication. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes my wife tells me I'm telling her too much. You know, you don't need to tell me. You know, we don't need to talk about this. I said, yeah, I do. You know, I need to talk about. It's not just that. It's just anything that crops up. I need to go home and I need to have a conversation with somebody that I like and love.
Episode number 1087, Jimmy Dore discusses the mysterious death of Seth Rich, suspected links to WikiLeaks, and criticizes U.S. media for silencing questions.
It's the fact you guys shot him and left his wallet and his watch there. That was amazing.
That was a botched robbery, Joe. And
yeah, sure. 4 o'clock in the morning.
Did you see
no one took anything from him?
See, Donna Brazil
just happened to leak. Yeah, she called him a fucking hero.
Donna Brazil said that was scared her to death. She started pulling the blinds in her office.
She should.
So now the Washington Post, that's what I wanted to ask you. They wrote a whole thing about how anybody who questions Seth Rich is crazy.
Of course, they do that. They make you look like you're a fool because it's a conspiracy theory. And you say conspiracy theorist, and you're a whack job.
But
just put
the
it down
Russia
on
thing
paper.
is one big conspiracy theory.
Right, but just put it down on paper. Let's just look at real hard facts. Seth Rich was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Seth Rich was a patriot. Seth Rich, according to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, which have not been proven to be liars.
Never had to retract anything they printed.
They've never had to do that. He's saying that he leaked stuff to him. There are consequences leaking stuff to WikiLeaks. Seth Rich was murdered at 4 o'clock in the morning, shot in the back. They said it was a botched robbery, but no one took anything from him, and there's never been anyone that's charged with it, and there's no suspects. I don't know what happened to him. But that looks very suspicious.
Well, you're not even allowed to ask questions because I covered that story one day. I covered it one day because that guy Wheeler came out and he was saying he had all this, he saw the computer and all this stuff. So I covered that.
Right, and you're a piece of shit. And you're a conspiracy theorist.
In that video I did, I literally said, I don't know if this is true. We're waiting for evidence. Unlike the mainstream news media with their Russia bullshit, we're going to wait for evidence.
Right.
I literally said that inside that. And then the next day I did another video which debunked that guy Wheeler who was pushing that story because he turned out he was full of shit.
So what was the response though?
People still to this day fucking smear me with that. They go, oh, you pushed it. I would do a news show. I covered a news show. By the way, why aren't you allowed to ask questions about an open murder investigation?
Well, not only that, this is a guy who is a real Bernie Sanders supporter, open Bernie Sanders supporter who worked for the DNC. The DNC absolutely rigged the primary against Bernie Sanders. He was aware of this. He was there while this was all going down. So was Donna Brazil. Everyone was aware of it. The guy got fucking murdered after he leaked information to WikiLeaks. If you don't think that's a little weird, what are you looking at? What delusional rose-colored glasses are you looking at your party from? You think you're in some Julia Roberts movie from 1990? This is real shit. Some guy got killed. He was 24 years old. He was a young guy who was very optimistic and had this view of the world where the guy fucking wore American flag pants and shirt. There's a famous picture of him with a beer on. He's a patriot in a lot of ways. He wanted to be involved in the political process. He was very idealistic. He was probably shattered by finding out that the party that he was working for was corrupting the democratic process. And because I've said this before, I've been accused of helping Donald Trump win by really wacky people online. They're like, by pointing out all the flaws of Hillary Clinton. Like, look, man, you can't ignore that shit because you want one side to win. I've talked about all of his flaws too. There's a lot of flawed human beings that run for president, pretty much all of them. I mean, it's very rare you have someone who's not flawed.
Right.
We're extremely flawed. We're all flawed, but extremely flawed who wants to be the fucking king of the world. It's very rare.
Well, not to change subjects, but Barack Obama, everyone thinks is the greatest guy in the world, in contrast to Donald Trump because he was polite.
He's a statesman.
He was
a very good speaker.
He was like, but he was polite. At the same time, he let cops crack the heads of peaceful protesters at Occupy Wall Street all across the country. He said he put on a soft shoe to stand up for unions. He fucked over unions in Wisconsin when they took the teachers' union away. He opened the Arctic to drilling twice. Whenever Shell Oil wanted, he said okay, and he only closed it when they didn't want to do it anymore. He took us from 2 wars to 7. He cooked out 5.1 million families out of their homes instead of helping them, and he made Wall Street whole while fucking over everybody else. So this guy, he made the Bush tax cuts permanent. So there was what they say is it looked like it was change on the outside, continuity on the inside.
Well, the Hope and Change website had to be altered because there was all these things in there about whistleblowers,
and then he prosecuted them.
Exactly, but he took it out of the website.
Right.
He had all these sections in the website about offering protection for whistleblowers. And also, they were like the worst when it came to the press.
Yes,
when it came to the press and people and freedom of the press and people getting in trouble for leaking information, they were the worst. The worst, much worse than Bush.
They used the Espionage Act to prosecute journalists.
Yes.
And that's a fact. And everyone turned their head. Glenn Greenwald used to be a hero on the left until he started telling the truth about Barack Obama,
right.
And now he's a pariah.
Right.
So to the people on, Thomas Frank, I don't know if you know, you would love that guy if you ever met him. He wrote that book called What's the Matter with Kansas, which is examining what's wrong with conservatives. And then he wrote a book called Listen Liberal, which came out, I think, 2 years ago, and he is persona non grata on MSNBC, CNN. Nobody will talk to him because he critiqued the left, and he talked
stepped
about
out of line.
Yeah, you can't.
There's no room for discourse.
He can't even get a job in the United States. He has to write for the Guardian in England. That's a true story. So I've had him on my show. People love him, and he comes on and he tells the truth about the left. Thomas Frank. And he's got a great sense of humor too, and he's real personable. And he's he's an academic, but he doesn't talk like one. And his book is Listen Liberal is what radicalized me to not be able to vote for Hillary Clinton. It opened my eyes to all the people still fucking blame Ralph Nader. It's just unbelievable. Like, you're allowed to participate in fucking democracy. And Hillary Clinton was the only candidate in the history of politics who wasn't expected to garner votes by campaigning. You just were supposed to owe her your fucking votes. If she doesn't have the votes, you're supposed to go get the fucking votes. Yeah. That's how it works. It's the first time ever I've ever seen people.
She was of poor health. I mean,
it's voter shame.
She was having a really hard time.
Donna Brazile almost wanted to replace her. She said in the book, Donna Brazile said her health was so bad, they wanted to replace her.
That was another thing that I got in trouble for. In trouble for. People were saying, like, why do you keep talking about her health? Because it's a huge issue. And also, I happen to know a lot about brain trauma.
She had brain trauma, and she passes out. They said she was hot. She didn't take her coat off.
Listen, I've been hot many times. I go in the sauna all the time. I never faint. Okay, and I don't want to run for president. Listen, you can't just fall asleep while you're standing up and be president. That's not in the books. Like, I have a joke about it in my act. Like, I was like, if that was my mom, I'd be like, Mom, you can't be president. You can't stand up fast. I mean, it's true. If Hillary Clinton stood up fast, her eyes would roll back behind her head, and she'd fucking crack her head off the linoleum. That's just a fact. But if you say that, you're a misogynist. You're alt-right. I've been called alt-right for that. Like you're helping
Trump.
Donald Trump win.
You're helping Trump.
This Seth Rich thing is a real symptom, and the ignoring of that case is a real symptom of what is wrong with this toxic tribalism. You can't discuss it.
Listen, that's crazy that you're even talking about it. I can't believe that you talk about it so openly. What do people don't try to discredit you because of this?
It doesn't matter. You can't. What do I do? I'm a cage fighting commentator. Go ahead. I'm a pot addict. I smoke the pot. I got problems. Listen, man, I'm not a fucking reputable person.
That's what I try to tell
my
people.
Political ideologies. I mean, I'm just not. I'm not that well read when it comes to politics. I have my opinions on things, but when it comes to things that are rock solid and clear, like that Seth Rich was murdered and people want to ignore it, I'm like, what the fuck do you think happened? There has to be some sort of a disconnect here. When a person is giving information to WikiLeaks that exposes corruption inside the very organization that's responsible for the fucking Democratic Party, and he gets murdered, and you're like, oh, the conspiracy theories. No, he got murdered. There's no conspiracy. It was a botched robbery. Says who? Says who? Where's his? How come his wallet was there? How come his watch was there? How come they didn't take his phone? What the fuck are you talking about that I'm a conspiracy theorist when I just tell you the facts? So and this WikiLeaks thing with Julian Assange is the craziest shit ever when he said there's consequences to sharing information with us. And everybody's like, he works for Russia now. He works for Russia.
So
he was the darling of the left when Obama was in office.
So isn't that amazing? So Julian Assange, he's just a great news guy who's tough as nails.
Who dances creepy and might have fucked some girl while she was asleep. Whatever. He can't leave. He's stuck in the Ecuador embassy forever.
By the way, that case was so fucked.
So fucked.
So fucked. He's been so fucked, and it's because the CIA wants him so bad, and they control everybody. And now they have influence over Ecuador, and they're trying to fuck. They're trying to get a Halliburton guy to be their new. Anyway,
they might just blow up that place. It's a gas leak.
No doubt. Right? I wouldn't be surprised if shit like that happened.
If more stuff comes out.
Episode number 1304. Joe Rogan and Brendan Schaub discuss Charles Manson, serial killers, and the allure of true crime shows.
But I was doing a show on Sirius with Jim Norton, and he brought in the guy who basically created Mindhunter. He was he's interviewed all the serial killers and speaks to them. Yeah. And they brought him in. I think his name's John Douglas. They brought him in. He's just talking. It was fascinating. I was like, oh shit. So I got his book. Almost finished his book. I'm like, this is great, man. And then started listening to a podcast he's on. It's just about like murder and death. And I started looking up all this Charles Manson stuff. And I've been having awful nightmares and been a little depressed. And you know me, it's very rare I'm down. It's just a dark fucking world, man.
Yeah, you watch those true crime shows, they'll fuck your head up.
Dude, it makes you scared of everything. But it's also going on.
It's going on in very small numbers. Very, very small numbers, but it is going on. What it is like people that have been abused, people that have been fucked up, psychopaths, and people that have been through the correction system, through the penal system. Yeah, that's a lot of it.
It's so dark, man.
There's not that many of them.
And this guy has 3 daughters. I was like, how can you, he was talking about this 7-year-old, terrible story. And I was like, how can you go home, man, and sleep? He's like, eventually, it's just a job. Like, it does affect me a little bit. I'm like, do you just lock up your kids? Like, I'd be like, just from hearing you, I don't want my son going to school. I don't want him leaving. He's like, nah, you learn to manage it. And he did say that. He's like, this is the exception. Like, there's some dark stuff out there. But these gentlemen he interviewed, Charles Manson, he was saying how he's 5'2", and he always has to speak over you, no matter what's going on. So they were in this room. There's 3 people, and Charles Manson, he got on a chair and stood over him and shouted down to him.
What was he saying?
I don't probably try and convert him into his
You
fucking
made
cult.
Me, man. You people made me eat your garbage, man.
Hey, man.
Man. I'm a product of your society, man.
He's fucking crazy.
He was crazy.
He had a quote, though. He has a quote that I was reading. Again, I'm too into it, man. I'm quoting Charles Manson. What's going on with my life? He was saying that it used to be like you were the exception when you're crazy. Now everybody's crazy.
That's what Manson was saying?
Yeah. He's like, used to be kind of cool, the in thing to be crazy. Now in society, everybody's crazy.
Well, he made it popular. The fuck?
Do you know how popular that fucking crazy serial killer is and all his followers?
Oh my God.
Even to this day, like I was reading this article in Rolling Stones, how many books and even merch, and to buy locks of his hair is 50 grand. It's going for 50 grand to buy locks of his hair, and how he sells merch. That's
50 grand for
insane.
locks of his hair?
Yeah.
How much is a lock? Like, what does that get you?
I don't know.
Well, you could
I
cut
lost
a lock
out on
up
the
in
I
half.
lost out on the bid.
Cut a lock in half. You know what I'm saying?
What's
like,
up?
who's to say how many?
Joe, let's split it. Put it in here,
who's
bro.
to say how many hairs
What's
is
up,
in
man?
a lock?
Yeah, I know.
How
Could
much
be
you
a
think
big piece though.
What if he shaves his balls and you give like a saran wrap baggie of his pubes? How much is that worth?
100 G's. Piece of his
Probably.
dick piece. 100 G's, dude. Charles Manson dick piece.
He was married when he died. The crazy bitches find serial killers in jail and marry them. Happened with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Yeah, there's
Happens
some
with a lot of
sexual
people.
thing to it, right?
Yeah, some women want to be around killers, and even in particular, guys have killed women.
How crazy is that?
It's very crazy.
Can you imagine when your daughter's, when they're, let's say, 22,
Marries a serial killer.
in prison? At least you know she's not going to die, but safe.
Look, there's people out there, I don't have to tell you, that do a fucking terrible job of raising their kids. You know, it's one of the reasons why people like you, people like me, people that get into being a parent, that really enjoy it, when you see something like that, it's even more disturbing, because you know that when you see a serial killer or someone who's fucked up, that person was a baby that had a terrible life, like almost always. They just got a shitty roll of the dice. They got bad parents.
It's usually the moms. It's the relationship with the moms that fuck them up. Not so much the fathers. Usually the mother-son relationship.
Really?
Yeah, it's usually always mother-son, and that's what usually causes the horrible...
That's why Norman Bates from Psycho was so dead on, right?
Yep.
And he's dealing with his mom. He dressed up like his mom.
You hear
stab
that guy,
people.
and he's the one who literally, he's Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson. When there's something he was talking about John Bonet, which, you know, I'm from Denver, went to school in Boulder. That was the John Bonet Ramsey murder case was such a big deal.
Yeah.
And
they still can't sell that house.
They can't sell it. No, I had a buddy, my strength coach, Doc Crease, rented it. It was like, fuck a ghost, and moved in there. Like, right after the murders. Anyway, so...
How did he handle it? Did he freak out?
No, he's cool. He's from Louisiana, like real tough dude. Didn't give a fuck.
It's
He
like
says he
Theo.
didn't give a
They're
fuck.
missing a chromosome down there.
Yeah, you'd be pretty crazy to move in there. It was a great deal, and it was a great spot.
Yeah, it was for sale for years.
For
man.
years. I think they might have knocked it down.
They should.
I drove to the O.J. Simpson.
They should knock
murder
it down.
place.
They should take out all the dirt and replace it with new dirt.
Yeah, they should
That's
just
what they
knock
should do.
down everything.
Just knock it down and dig a hole all the way to hell. Whatever the fuck dirt was there.
It's so dirty, man. But that dude, he was just talking, and it was fascinating. I didn't say a word. And then we went to John Bonet. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to chime in here because I know this case, and I know it well. And Jim asked him a question. That was like my time to jump in. I go, yeah, but it's probably the parents, right? Or maybe the son. And he hasn't acknowledged me this entire interview. I don't know if Jim noted this. And he goes, what'd you say? I goes... And I could tell I fucked up. I goes, it's probably the parents or the son, right? And he goes, absolutely not. Absolutely not, Brendan. And then goes on how ridiculously of an assumption that is. And I go, well,
who does he think did it?
It's not them. He goes, the problem is the narrative that got painted outside of that when the media was going crazy, and even the Boulder police, he goes, they were so far off, and he listed like 10 reasons why it wasn't them, and I kind of felt like an idiot. I went, very cool, I'll buy the book. I'm going to shut the fuck up now.
The only problem was that a handwriting expert had connected the mother's handwriting to the ransom note.
Dude, get him on this podcast. It'd be fucking fascinating. He's doing promotion right now.
I mean, I have no idea who killed Johnny
Ramsey. Douglas. This guy
I do
does.
remember. I don't think he knows.
No, he knows it. He can tell you from his 70 years of experience dealing with murders, it's not the parents, but he had like evidence why it wasn't. Because I said the same things, right? I'm balls deep in John Bonet. I grew up around it. It was like such a culture phenomenon.
Did he say who he thinks it is?
Yeah, he did, and I forget. But it's not the parents.
Someone who's alive?
I don't know. You got to have him on.
Okay.
It was so... I'm telling you, I've listened to a shitload of shows, and I was so into this, man. I didn't even promote my special. I was there to promote my special. I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
I made one stupid comment about John Bonet's family, and then he was like, shut the fuck up.
Those fucking shows are very compelling, man.
Why do you think that is?
Crime shows.
Why do you think? Why are we? Well, like, why am I drawn to? Am I fucked up? Like,
No.
why am I drawn to this serial killer
if
shit?
you are fucked up, you're just like everybody else. Because
Why
those
did I
shows
buy
are
Charles
super
Manson's
popular.
pubes on eBay?
How much did you pay?
70 G's, man. Can you imagine?
70 G, but his pubes, they plucked him out, so it has some DNA in him.
Dude.
You could recreate Charles Manson. What is this? Charles Manson's hair. $2,400.
That's a
This is for
steal.
a bag of hair off the head of Charles Manson. It was obtained July 2016 from an associate of Charles Manson.
Oh no, that's
A
sweet, dude.
COA will be certificate of authenticity will be included upon purchase. By the way, there are no certificates of authenticity when it comes to Charles Manson's hair. It's not like there's an accrediting body.
Who's like, is
Like,
it's his
goes
DNA. It's definitely him.
we go over every aspect of this purchase.
That shit's weak though, man. You want that 1970s hair strain. You don't
Yeah.
want the updated shit.
You want
It's
to
all
be
gray.
there when he cuts it off, really. Yeah, you want to film him cutting it off, and then you want to vacuum seal it and sign it and film the whole thing. You put it in one of them fucking vacuum bags
and then sell it.
and then seal it. Yeah, that way no one's touched it. Chops right off his hair. You got video footage of it. You got video footage of him autographing the bag. What the fuck is wrong with us? Why are we talking about this?
Episode number 1293. Joe Rogan and Andrew Santino discuss the Ed Buck scandal, a Democratic donor accused of involvement in two men's fatal drug overdoses.
Is this something you wrote?
Yeah, that's in high school.
Oh my God. That you wanted to be a comedian.
It says I want to be a
I want
comedian.
to become a stand-up comic and to work with comedy on television.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yeah, I want to do anything.
I like what I'm hearing. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Look at I wrote below.
I want you to wear a tracksuit
Yeah.
with no underwear and meet me at the dock.
Got it.
We're going to get on my yacht and
You
have
got
a
it.
good time.
Let's go.
And I got a part for you to read in my script. You imagine
Yeah.
some guy takes you out on his yacht. You're like, wow, so you really think my tape was good? Yeah, your tape was amazing. We're going to show you the dock.
I mean, when do we
Yeah.
start auditioning?
And he brings you this script and tells you what's required of you.
Yeah.
And then you're out there in the middle of the water, bobbing around, staring at this guy, and you got a couple glasses of wine. And he's like, I'm going to make you a star, but I need to get my dick sucked.
Okay, I
You're
get
like,
it.
Shit.
I get it. I did write in high school anything it takes.
Now imagine being a woman and you're in that situation. You think you're going to be able to sweet talk that guy, right? That's why you were flirting with him.
Yep.
That's why you got close to
Yep.
him. You're going to get a part. You're going
Yep.
to play him. You're going to get a part. Next thing you know, you're on that ocean. Well, that feels creepy. That feels rapey.
It is rapey.
Right. When you're a dude, you're like, fuck, that guy fucked up.
Just sacrifice, man. Gotta suck a dick for
it's
the role.
But I'm saying it's a different feeling.
Totally.
Right? But still dangerous. Because if the guy finds out that you're not willing and then you might be hostile,
Yeah.
and then he might be hostile back,
Yeah.
like you're two dudes. One dude want to get his dick sucked by a dude, but you're both two dudes. And it's a real hair-raising situation for both of you.
What are
For
you
him-
doing?
For him, it's hair-raising, right? You try to get this guy to suck your dick, and the guy said, I'll fucking kill you. And you're like, Jesus, now I got to drive this guy back in my boat. It's just me and him, a guy who said he would kill me in a
for sucking my
20-foot-long little boat.
Yeah, you gotta sit. Well, you gotta make him sit up by the bow, and you just drive quietly.
What do you do?
Jump in
You
the
know
water.
You know, that's where people kill people. Like, you know he's going to tell people.
Yeah, totally. That's how he gets. That's where that kid from Iowa goes missing. Went to Hollywood for big dreams, never came back.
Is out in the water?
Cement shoes, my friend. Put on these shoes. Kaplunk.
Yeah, I guarantee that's happened.
But
I guarantee you a guy has tried to get a guy to suck his dick, and the guy tried to fight him, and they fought to the death.
You kidding me? I'm sure it's happening now. There's got to be
Right as we're speaking.
There's got to be enough.
Someone's listening to this.
Hollywood
while a
murder.
Gay guy is choking them to death. Doesn't want anyone to know. Don't go on the boat unless you really know the guy. That's
Don't
my
go on the
message.
boat.
That's my message.
How well do you know the guy?
Men or women. If the guy's a producer and he takes you on the boat, don't go.
Don't go on the boat. I feel like that about how well do you know the guy with the boat? Not that well. I'm not going on that guy's fucking boat.
I was on a show once, and there was a guy who was kind of I don't want to be mean, but he was sleazy. He was just Hollywood.
How's that mean, calling out someone for being fucking sleazy? If he's a sleaze bag.
But it's the most stereotypical version of it.
Yeah.
And there was a gal who's also working on the television show, and she was young and flirtatious. And the next thing you know, they were on his boat for the weekend working on the script. And they came back, and we were like, what? Like, you really just said that?
Yeah, we were working
You guys,
creatively.
Oh, guys, working creatively, just out in the middle of the water.
The water gives me,
in
you know,
bikinis.
the water makes me feel a type of way.
But it's like normal stuff. Like, that's what people did
In
forever.
this business, yeah.
Yeah.
It used
What?
to be.
What, Jamie?
You wanted to bring this up because you're sort of talking about that. We never talked about it.
Well, this was a different subject,
I know,
but yeah.
but it's sort of related. I'll save it.
This is Ed Buck. Do you know who that guy is?
Wait, no.
He's like this Democratic. He's a donor.
Oh, right.
Like
we
big
talked.
donor
You and
to
I talked
Democratic
about this.
Party. Yes,
Right. And there were two dudes.
Two dudes have been found dead there, from drug overdoses. So they come over, and one guy said that. What did he say that?
I don't know what they've said, but like I think what
he
they said,
makes
like,
them do drugs,
or he's taking them in while they're already super high, and he's helping them out, or something
and they
like
die.
that, and they end up dying.
What?
While they're there.
And he's claiming that he's helping two people.
Yeah, I think that's what his
coincidence
story is.
Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he goes out there and finds really high people.
You
And
think
takes
he's
them home.
people trying to save people in the middle of the night?
What are you, cynical, bro?
Yeah, dude.
What do you think is happening?
You want me to take a wild guess?
Yeah.
I bet he goes out looking for people that are real fucked up to get back to his apartment to get some fucking dick.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
And then
That's not even. That's.
and then they say, "Do you have any more drugs?" And he goes, "You bet I got more fucking drugs." They do more drugs together,
And they die.
and he dies, and he stays alive.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. You sure?
Case closed, Your Honor.
Are you a detective?
I rest my
is that
fucking
the gentleman?
That's Mr. Buck.
Okay. Well, looks like a fine man. Don't
Yeah,
show
he
that
looks
on
like he doesn't do anything. Look, he's got a nice gold tooth shining in the back of his mouth, like what's his name? The Wet Bandits from Home Alone.
Investigators found multiple sex toys, multiple syringes, and clear plastic bags with suspected methamphetamine in a toolbox roll cabinet in the living room. He's got a toolbox filled with syringes and sex toys.
Let's go to work.
Clear plastic bags with meth.
Moore has been homeless and had
I like
worked as
how
a
it
meth
says bags, clear plastic bags, like more than
Many.
one. He's got bags of speed. He had been homeless and had worked as an escort. Yeah, he was on that Gigolo show, season 4.
He was one of the main guys.
Yeah, he's the guy.
I've become addicted to drugs
Ed
in the
Buck
worst way.
is the one to thank. He gave me my first injection of crystal meth.
Wow.
I become addicted to drugs, and the worst one at that. Well, I don't know if that's true, but it's a crazy story. What we do know is true is 2 people died over there.
That's fucking insane.
He's having, hey man, just. There's different standards, right? Like here's the thing. Like if he was a heterosexual guy and 2 women had died at his house,
Prison for life.
what are the odds that they wouldn't arrest him?
Zero. If one woman is found dead in your fucking apartment,
Yeah, if you go
You're gonna
pick
go to
up
prison.
hookers and shoot them up with meth,
Yeah.
you go to jail.
you go to prison. Yeah.
But if you pick up male hookers, it's like what we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
If it's a guy like, you're a Russian model, you came
You
over here,
figured
it
it
didn't
out.
work, bro. Fuck the old ladies. Come on. Like
It's
true.
true.
Like these guys, 2 guys are dead.
Dead.
And everybody's like, hey, that's the fucking game they're playing.
They OD'd.
They're playing that shoot the meth game.
Once you shoot, it's on you.
He's only killed 2 guys. What the fuck?
Episode 1210. Joe Rogan and Tom Papa discuss a horrifying New Jersey case where a man murdered his brother's family and set fire to houses to cover it up.
Somebody was telling me about this. I was at a little kids party. I was talking to one of the dads, and he was telling me about this thing that happened. I think it was in Northern California. It was a fire. Fuck, it might not have been Northern California. It was a fire, and initially they thought it was just a fire, but then the CEO and his vice president both of their houses caught fire. Mm-hmm. So then they thought it was like an attack on both people. And then they realized, no, it was a murder. And one of the guys killed the guy and his family and then lit his house on fire and then went back to his house and lit his own house on fire to make it look like they were going after both of them.
Oh. And he's the only one that survived?
Yeah. Whoops.
That just happened in New Jersey. A guy...
Was it in New Jersey? Maybe that was it.
A guy murdered his whole family. His own family.
Yeah. Oh.
And then lit the house on fire.
Then maybe that's it. Maybe I'm getting a fucked up version of the story.
I get drunk at kid parties, too.
Oh, it's the only way to go by. Family massacre disguised as a massive fire in New Jersey. Yeah, that's it. This is the story. So make that a little larger, please. It says there was more than a brotherly bond between Paul and Keith. Yeah, that's right.
What part of New Jersey?
They
That's
shared
where I'm
businesses,
from.
vacationed together, and settled about 11 miles from each other in the suburbs of New Jersey. But 2 days before Thanksgiving, a horrific chain of events would forever tear them apart.
Oh, his brother?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
so I was
man.
getting a really fucked up version of the story. How do you say that name? Caniero?
Caniero.
Caniero?
Caniero.
Caniero.
The
He's
Caniero
accused of
brothers.
killing his youngest brother, his sister-in-law, and their children.
Oh.
This is what's fucked up. Like, how does a guy go from never killing anybody to killing a wife and daughters?
So he killed his brother and his brother's whole family.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I thought he killed his own
Then
family.
he set his own home on fire with his wife and daughter inside. Tried to make it look as if the whole family had been targeted. His family got out of the home safely.
Can you imagine the panic? Like,
what the fuck,
you just
man?
murdered these people. You run
No,
back
don't
and you
scroll.
light
Don't
your,
scroll. Go back.
You light your own house on fire, and you're like, can you imagine, like, while you're lighting your house on fire, thinking, like, the intensity of, this is going to work. I'm going to get out of this. This is where the plan goes, and poof.
Well, what's really fucked up is, how does a person kill? I mean, I understand you're mad at a guy and you fucking hate each other. Fuck you, and you start fighting, and then you wind up killing each other. How do you kill his wife and daughters? How do you do that? What switch goes on? Like, is he just trying to?
Yeah, because he's just walking around.
Go back up. It says he's killed his sister-in-law. It said he's accused of killing his younger brother, his sister-in-law, and their children. Like, how many children? Like, who? Hey, he killed kids.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who's never murdered anybody.
Just walking around Colts Neck Township, New Jersey.
Yeah, he's a businessman. Probably never done anything really major in his life.
Right. Probably was at a business meeting 2 days before with some guy.
What the fuck, man?
Just living his life, talking about the Giants.
Like, what the fuck? What is that?
His wife and his 2 daughters.
Several twists in the case have
Oh, no,
rattled
look at
law
that. Look
enforcement.
at that.
What?
He then allegedly set his own home on fire with his wife and his daughters inside.
Did you not hear me say that?
I thought you were talking about his brother's family.
No. He killed his brother and his family, set the house on fire, then lit his own house on fire to make it look like he was being targeted.
I knew that, but I didn't know he had kids in his house.
His wife and his daughters were inside.
Oh, my God.
To try to make it look as if his whole family was being targeted, his brother and him.
Oh, my God.
His family got out of the home safely. Wow. Fucking unbelievable.
Think
man.
about his kids. Right now, we're like, what did Dad? What?
Yeah.
What?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God. What
Family
a
of 4
monster.
was killed before sunrise. Scroll up there. Somewhere between midnight and 5 a.m., Paul Caniero was walking around his brother's $1.5 million Colts Neck home armed with a knife and a gun.
His
His brother's been in front of the White Mansion when a deadly confrontation unfolded. Paul fired multiple shots, striking Keith. Fucking A.
When you got mad at me for not following the story clearly, did you feel like you could kill me?
No, not yet. I need more. Jesus Christ. He walked inside, found Keith's wife, Jennifer. He shot and stabbed her, and then stabbed their children, Jesse, 11, and Sophia, 8. What the fuck, man?
Hell?
Then he took some documents and set a fire in the basement.
What were they doing the week before?
He fucking stabbed an 8-year-old dude, an 8-year-old girl.
In her sleep.
How the fuck does someone...
In her sleep.
Did it say in her sleep?
Well, it was 5 a.m.
Doesn't matter, man. There's gunshots in the house. The kids might have gotten up. Oh, my God.
Good Lord.
What a monster.
A monster. What was this guy like the month before? Like, what the hell?
Look at that normal-looking house. Shit, that is the normalest-looking normal house ever.
Do you believe that there is always a presence of good and evil in the world? Like that it's not just evil deeds. What this guy did was evil. But do you believe that there is a real presence of evil, that it's like a thing that takes over people or takes over, you know what I mean?
Like
good and evil. Is that more than just people's actions, or is it like a force of nature? Is there a good force of nature and an evil force of nature that is constantly using people and using things as a catalyst, or as a instrument.
Let's break this down. I don't think nature is the right way to approach it because I don't think there's good or evil in nature. I think in nature is actually far more moral than humans are. Because with nature is just about survival, right? It's predators and prey, and they kill things and eat things. But when animals in nature kill, like what they call surplus killings, where wolves will kill like 18 elk and not eat them, they're just going on their instincts. These things are there to be killed, and they can get them because they can't run away. Maybe it's thick snow or something like that. So they just can't help it. They just tear them apart because their instincts they drive them to kill because that's how they survive. That's how their family survives. They're killing and they're eating these elk, and this is just what they do. And even if they kill a bunch of them where they can't eat them, their instinct is to kill because that's how they survive. It's natural. It's normal. With humans, it's very different. Because with humans, there's consequences, right? And there's law, and there's other humans finding out. So there's deception, and then there's selfishness, and there's the fear of getting caught, and then there's your own survival instincts in terms of like you don't want to get locked up in jail, you don't want to get caught for something. So I think, if I had to guess, that this guy didn't think he was going to kill this guy's wife and family. Probably didn't even think he was going to kill this guy. They probably got into a heated argument, and they're stupid. And he's a guinea. That's my people.
Yeah.
They do stupid. Your people too.
Guinea-ero.
They do stupid shit. They're fiery people, and those fiery people. I swore off Italian girls when I was 21. I had an Italian girl take a swing at me when I was 21. I was like, that's it for me. I'm done. I'm like, I'm not hitting one back.
Episode 1353. Rob Zombie recalls witnessing violence and murder on his first day in New York, including the Michael Stewart police beating.
I mean, because things would play it at the drive-in and then go away.
Yeah.
That was like, that's how I felt when the first time, I loved when 42nd Street in New York was the real 42nd Street.
Right.
And I remember, it was so funny, me and my friend, my roommate back then, we'd always go to 42nd Street to see movies because it'd be like Cannibal Holocaust. I would just see the poster, what the fuck is Cannibal Holocaust? And you go see this Italian cannibal movie, go, this is literally the most, I cannot believe another human made this movie.
Right.
And it blows your mind. But I remember every time I went to 42nd Street, I saw a really bad incident happen. Like you could not go there. Like we'd be like waiting in line and like, oh, let's go get some French fries before the movie. Two guys would start fighting at McDonald's. One guy would just pummel the other guy. It'd be blood everywhere. I go, it happened. Next time we go, we'd see a guy stab another guy in the theater while watching. There it is. Like literally, I never went there once. And even right till I was recording my album before I moved, I remember walking to the studio, which was like maybe 43rd, and there was a dead body lying there, and they had just found him, and they were just starting to put the sheet. So I actually didn't see the violent act, but I saw the dead body. But you didn't care. Like New York, it was like New York when I moved to New York in '82 still seemed like, Taxi Driver New York.
Yeah, well, that was when it was. And
it was
coming from Haverhill.
Wild
must have been
fucking West.
So exciting because Haverhill's so boring in comparison.
Couldn't be more boring. if its goal was to be boring, it's
gold medal.
Yeah, it succeeded. I remember Haverhill was so bad that when we were kids, I don't forget. Maybe this was around the bicentennial. I think they were trying to drive business because Main Street, they can't even blame Walmart back then, was dead. There was nothing there. It was just a ghost town. And they just put all these banners up. Haverhill, the all-American city. But it was like the catchphrase is going to matter.
That's going to make people open businesses.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
I was like, oh, this is so bad.
Time to sell flags.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to New York City for the first time in the 80s as well. I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was like somewhere probably around 82 or 83. And when we were in the city driving around, I remember thinking like, this is the craziest fucking place I've ever been in my life. The buildings were so big it didn't make sense. Pulling up to it, I remember we drove up on the West Side Highway and you see the city coming up in the distance. You see the buildings getting larger and larger as you get closer.
It's mental.
It didn't seem real.
I remember being on the sidewalk. Now, this is coming from a place where a sidewalk means there's literally no other person on the sidewalk as far as you can see.
Right.
And they were standing on the sidewalk and must have been uptown somewhere. And it was like you couldn't move with people. I was like, what is happening?
Right.
Like,
Swarms.
I've never seen like this is how it is all the time. Like I lived on a street in Haverhill, like a car drove down it like once a day. and it was probably your dad coming home from work. Like there was just nothing.
If you could have, if you had a time machine though, and you went from 1982 and you said, "Hey, what do you think it's going to look like here in 2019?" You'd be like, "Fuck, man, it's going to be Mad Max."
Yeah.
Like there'd be fucking cars driving with black smoke coming out of them, people shooting people right on the street. It's going to get worse. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, the only thing I remember right towards my end of being there was that Tompkins Square, downtown, and that was where it's just like wherever homeless people lived. It was Alphabet City. It was like the worst. Wait, I want to back it up. When I first moved to New York, the first night I was there, this sounds like I'm making it up, and I'm not. The first night I was there, the dorm that I was in with all my roommates overlooked Union Square Park, which was like Needle Park. You just went there to buy dope, and that was it. Now you go there because it's a farmer's market, and it's beautiful. And I heard this guy screaming and screaming and screaming. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? Because it was like 100 degrees. And of course, there's no air conditioning. I look out the window and I watch these cops beat up this guy. And I was like, and then they dragged him down to the subway. And the next day, all these cops showed up at the dorms. And it was this guy, Michael Stewart. It became a really famous case. They called him a graffiti artist, and he had been beat to death by the cops. And me and all my roommates saw it. Whoa. And the next day, they came and took our statement, and we all had to testify in front of the grand jury. This is my first day out of Haverhill. Wow. I witnessed a murder. But again, it's like the same thing with like my deal at Universal. I was like too naive and weird to really comprehend what I'd seen.
Were you kind of pumped? Like, wow,
I just was like,
things are happening.
I'm so jaded. It didn't disturb me or seem like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I am desensitized by all the violence I've witnessed as a child, I guess.
Would you see more violence before that?
Well, there's one famous thing I remember as a kid. There's two famous things. I just thought of them. When I was a kid, the family business that my mom came from was like carnivals. Like, you ever see that movie Carney?
Yeah.
With Gary Busey?
Yeah.
That's exactly the life as a kid that I remember. When I saw the movie, I was like, this was our life. We were at.
So that makes sense. This attraction you have to these drifters.
Yeah, it was always what I was surrounded by. So that was the thing I remember as a kid. Except it was around 1977, I think, because I remember Kiss Love Gun had just came out because I was all pumped about it. And the family worked there. My mom and dad and me and my brother had to work and sell food and stuff, and I hated. We used to have to dip the candy apples and hand them to people, and they've healed now. But I had burns all over my hands because the apple candy would be so hot it would drip on my hand and burn my hands. Anyway, I digress. But one night there was the gambling tents, which were all rigged, of course, and some guy had gotten fleeced for all of his money, and came back and lit the tent on fire, and then suddenly shit hit the fan. Everybody that me and my little brother had been around all the time, it's like, boom, all these guns start coming out. And you start hearing guns popping up. And then the tents just went, like nothing was fireproof. So everything's on fire. It's complete chaos. And I was probably in 5th grade. My brother was probably in 2nd grade. And everybody screaming and running around. And this guy was like, that I don't remember his name, but he worked there. He was like, hey, you guys should come over here. And before he finished his sentence, somebody ran up and hit him in the face with a hammer and broke his whole face open. And it was just gushing blood. And we're like, and then eventually my parents got us in the car and we left, my mom was like, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. That was the last time we ever did it.
Wow, what a great way to go out, though.
But the best was going to school in September. Like, what did you do this summer? And that was my story.
Wow.
We didn't go to Camp Winnipesaukee. We were in a carnival riot.
What was the gambling tent? Like, what kind of games are they rigging?
I don't know. I mean, everything's rigged. Like, anything from... And there's even a great scene in Carney where... a friend of mine who's in a lot of my movies, Meg Foster, plays the woman. She's holding all the long strands of rope, and she's trained Jodie Foster, like you pull the rope and it's connected to a prize, and everything's rigged, like the weighted lead milk bottles you're supposed to knock down with a softball. I mean, everything's rigged. I mean, there's certain ways that you know how to cheat them, so that when the guy's showing you how to do it, look, it's so easy, just throw it like this. But there's a certain way you can throw it, it'll work, but other ways it won't. I would never be in the gambling tents because they were actual gambling. We were like little tiny kids, but it was probably roulette wheels, I'm guessing. Things like that. that would, the guy spins it and probably hit something with his foot, and it never stops on the number that the guy's got all of his money on because he let him win a bunch of times or something.
So when the fire broke out and people started shooting, who was shooting at who?
I don't know what was going on.
Just chaos.
We're little kids. Like, you're not really comprehending this going on in like 4th or 5th grade. You're just like, that guy's now got a gun. I hear gunshots. Everything's on fire. There's smoke. People screaming. This guy's now gushing brains out of the front of his head. So,
fuck.
I said there were 2 stories. The second story. The second story I kind of put in the new movie 3 from Hell. This was like when I was in high school. I was in the backyard rehearsing with my 2 friends, our band or whatever, and we heard this screaming. And it was a bright, sunny day. It seemed like a David Lynch movie, Suburbia. And this fat, naked guy was running down the street covered in blood. He had been stabbed a whole bunch of times. And like, people are mowing their lawns and looking out. And I just remember a bloody naked guy running down the street screaming like a weird scream. People scream weird when they get stabbed. And so I put there's something like that in the movie. But it just,
What happened to him?
I don't know. I don't know. He was like, he was knocking on people's doors like, help me, let me in. And again, I was like, oh, it's weird. And I just went back and we continued rehearsing.
Whoa.
Like, again.
That must have flavored the music a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
That
just
day.
like, I should be really bothered by things like that. But I'm not.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a thing that happens when you see too much. It's one of the reasons why cops and soldiers have some of the oddest sense of humor.
I can see that.
Yeah, they've just seen too many bodies. They've seen... Yeah.
I mean, imagine the guys that have to come scrape up all the stuff off the road and put it in the bags.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that after,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the life I remember. And I remember my mom's brother, he would always... he didn't always do this, but sometimes he was a biker, so he'd come over to the house and he had a chopper with iron crosses on it. And he kind of looked like Lemmy with a big mustache. And I was like, this guy's badass. Like, drives around the neighborhood so everyone can see us. There's a lot of that stuff.
That is